is Zach Elkins. I live here in Waco, work here in Waco for a church called Highland Baptist Church. It's just down the road. We run about 2,000 to 3,000 people during the year. That's a big gap, 2,000 to 3,000. It's because Baylor University is right here, and we lose a lot of people during the summer. Highland Baptist Church. A little bit more about me. My title is the creative director. This picture is me and my lovely wife. Her name is Maddie. We've been married for about four years, and we've lived here for about 4 years. So, I started working for Highland 3 years ago and about 3 months. So I started around the time of Easter, the easiest time of the year to start working for a church. And so I've been doing social media. So my title is creative director. So I do social media, I do video, photography, a little bit of design. We've got another guy on staff that does that. So if you hear the different things that we do, you can probably tell a little bit more about who Highland is. Just kind of our style. We aren't necessarily deep traditional. We're not liturgical. We're a little bit more contemporary, but we love to mix in. We have a lot of people. We still have a choir, and we still do orchestra from time to time. So we love to mix that in. So we're growing in our diversity and trying to become more diverse in all aspects, really. So I graduated from Dallas Baptist University with a degree in music business. Hence why I'm doing social media stuff, right? And then I actually graduated from Truett Seminary with a Master of Arts in Christian Ministry. Again, that's why I'm doing social media, because they tie in so well. So that's a little bit about me, and we'll divulge probably a little bit more. You'll see a little bit more of my personality. So, what is social media? You all know what social media is. I'm not going to treat you like you're 5. But this is just a definition. So social media, it's forms of electronic communication, such as websites for social networking and microblogging, through which users create online communities to share information, ideas, personal messages, and other content, such as videos. It goes beyond just videos. It goes to photos. It goes to GIFs now, if you've seen those, or emojis. It goes everywhere. So that's our topic. We want to understand what social media is, and then to be able to use that in your music ministry. It looks different for everybody. It looks different for every church. My church is not going to look the same as St. Timothy Lutheran in Houston, and what he does isn't going to look the same as me. So we want to match who we are as a church, the church body as a whole. We want to be when people look at our social media, we want them to see who we are. If we are a traditional, we have a traditional style service, we're not going to put pictures of electric guitars and lights and drums everywhere. That doesn't show people who we are. We want to be true to who we are. And people who see that, who are a part of that, will love it even more. So digging in, I meant to say this at the beginning. If you see, it's a whiteboard because I wasn't going to use the whiteboard. I don't have handouts too, if you were looking for one. So hopefully I can give you some good notes in this. So purpose. So once again, social media. What is it? It's forms of electronic communication through which users create online communities to share information, ideas, personal messages, and other content. So even in the definition, we see that it goes beyond making a post. It goes beyond liking an image. It goes beyond commenting on Stacy's latest vacation. It goes beyond that. It's about the big words. We want to share information, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. And also, we want to share ideas. We're going to share personal messages, and then other content such as videos, photos, and beyond. It's a place for networking. So it's social networking. So it's a place for networking. So connecting with people. It's a place for microblogging. So that goes to that. Microblogging is all about sharing tidbits. So that's when there's limits on what we do, like Twitter, for example. There's a limit on what we can share for a reason. And so social media is for that reason, for microblogging, little tidbits here and there. So essential understanding. So social media is a place to connect with others, right? If you have social media, you realize that you add somebody or you follow somebody. It's a place. To its bare roots, it's a place to connect with others. Then it's a place for community. What better place than the church to show that there can be community? And Acts 2:44 talks about how the church had all things in common, right? So they shared all things in common. And so that's a place for community, for social media. We want that to be how we see how people are finding community. We want to be a part of that. And then social media is also a place where people can be seen and heard. In Psalm 139:1 talks about how how God knows us and He searches us. And so God is the one who knows us and searches us. And so who better to help people be known and be seen than the bride? And if I'm going too fast or any of this, feel free to stop, ask questions. I'm okay with interruptions. So platforms. So before we get into the do's and don'ts, there are a few platforms, right? There's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's LinkedIn, there's YouTube. The list goes on and on. So we might not all use, I almost put all like the different places that you can put social media, but like we don't do Twitter because it's not useful for us. So you might not do Instagram, or you might not do Facebook. You might just do Instagram. So it's all dependent upon your culture and who your people are. Where your people are, go there. Don't be where they're not, because then who are you talking to? So some do's for social media. So what we want to do, what Highland, I'm speaking for Highland, I'm also speaking for myself, but also I think should be for the church. What we want to do is we want to share life events with people. So these life events aren't just like, hey, this is this Thursday night we have our Christmas candle lighting service. You know, it's not a bulletin board, which I get to in the don'ts, but it's about, hey, Tom just got baptized this last Sunday. And this is Tom's story. And so this is a life event for him. So we're highlighting different life events in the church, such as we've spent 50 years, we've been established for 50 years. And this is who we are. These are some old pictures that we found, or some old video, or whatever. Then stories. That's the biggest thing. What you're doing with social media is you're sharing a story. Sharing the story of your church. So I'm sharing the story of Highland, right? So collectively, like what am I sharing? You want to share the story. That's where people connect. They connect with stories. So like I did in the beginning, I told you my story of like I'm here and I'm married. So things that connect us, like I'm married, I work for a church, I do social media, I have friends, I have community groups. Those things, what connects us, those are our stories. Some different ideas for social media, some do's that I would encourage you is inspirational blogs. So this doesn't necessarily mean that you're writing. So I have to create at least 5 social posts a week for 2 different platforms. So about 10. 4 different social platforms. 2 of them I'm doing 1 a week. And so I'm doing about 10 posts a week. So if I'm having to write everything for that, I just get exhausted. So I don't typically write everything for that. So things that help with that, video, just pictures of like showing things. You don't always have to say something, and it doesn't always have to be deep. But inspirational blogs where you read something and you're like, oh, this is good. This is for the church. This is for the benefit. even if it's particular to, this is a blog post about this worship leader, this is a blog post about the Gettys and their history and everything, and just telling their story. That's a great post. I would definitely repost that. And then educational blogs. So this is the proper way to sing, or this is the proper, if you use handbells, this is the proper way to use handbells in the church if you want to learn that. And then, Defender Submarine. And then devotionals. So quick devotionals. So this is one thing that we do every week, or try to post every week, is a quick devotional. So I have a guy that is kind of under me, and I told him, I said, hey, what I want you to do is I want you to go through the Psalms. I want you to just give me a quick devotional every week from the Psalms. And so he writes it up and he sends it to me, and that's a quick, easy post. I just put a picture with it and post it. But the thing is, for him, he's coming from a pastoral perspective. And so these devotionals, people can wake up in the morning, and typically people will get on their phone, and then they'll check their emails, and then they'll check their social networks. So if that devotional is one of the first things that person sees, then that's just a quick hit into their day. Say, hey, don't forget, you're a follower of Christ. Don't forget, here, this is like worship throughout the week. Don't let this just be a Sunday thing, but live every day in worship. One thing that's really difficult to do, but always a great thing to do, is ask questions. So in a little bit, I'll come to some resources for you. If I don't give you anything, hopefully I give you some good resources. So one thing that you can do is say, hey, what's your favorite place to go eat on a Sunday after church? So you just make that post, and then hopefully you'll have people come on, and then they'll just start saying places. So like we said in the beginning, what's social media for? It's for community. It's for connecting with others. So when you have that interaction opportunity and you interact back, so what I'll do is I'll interact with myself, and then I'll go on as Highland. Then I'll interact back with myself to try to get the trend going. So it looks weird for people that know that it's me, but most people don't. So I can kind of hide behind the computer. But when you interact with people, they're like, oh, they just respond. That's awesome. Like if you go to, the only thing I can think, I don't know why this is the only thing I can think of. If you go to Nike's Facebook page and you write a comment on a post, the chances of you getting a comment back from Nike are slim to none, right? But if I go on and somebody just posted or commented on one of our videos, posted a video today, if somebody comments on that video and I go on as Highland and I say, yeah, completely agree, that's so awesome, praying for you, whatever it is, then they're more encouraged to come back, to continue to follow, to stay up to date. But the thing is, if I just kind of push them off and just kind of ignore it, then it's more likely that they're going to be like, okay, well, they don't really care, so I'm not going to really interact. You might get a like, but that's not going to turn into anything.
Thank you. What format are you using for that? I know you get to format a little bit, but do you think texting is better than Facebook paging for small groups, or what?
No, that's a great question. That's actually that's that answer right there. Groups. So I'll go ahead and answer. So Facebook is changing quite a bit. So if you have a small group, the best way to interact with them is through Facebook groups. So, I'm giving away all my secrets. No. So Facebook had their annual conference 2 months ago. And one of the things that they rolled out that they're going to start pushing towards is getting rid of the timeline and only having groups. So they'll have groups and Messenger. Like those are the two biggest things that they want. Well, Messenger is like their biggest moneymaker, but then groups is as a culture, that's what they want to do. So that it makes it more difficult for organizational pages. I would say still have one, like still work towards that. But with groups, what happens is people get on and they start interacting with people, and then they stay on Facebook longer. So it'll change some things with the ads that they have on Facebook. You'll start to see them in groups, which right now they're not in groups. There aren't any ads. But if you can get somebody to your platform and stay there longer, the more likely they'll see an ad and they'll click on it and they'll go to it. So it just creates more revenue for them, rather than just scrolling through, scroll through, okay, I'm getting out of that.
Can I suggest you go back to your original statement and say, and reframe that and say what works for your community? Because in our church, only 10% of the people in our congregation use Facebook. They avoid it like the plague.
Yeah.
And,
Absolutely.
And those that do are in their own specific closed groups. So for contacting small groups, I have to use something like Remind or some of the Slack or some of the
You guys are speaking in tongues right now.
So
all texting, fast message type of things, because Facebook just won't do it. And the men of our church don't go to Facebook at all, not under the penalty of death.
Men are probably the hardest to reach in any social network. Twitter is where most men are, surprisingly, but that doesn't mean all men are there.
Yeah.
But as far as the ratio goes, there's more guys that interact on Twitter than women do. But we don't use Twitter. I mean, if that works for your culture, do that. I would say if you have small groups that are part of your church that are on Facebook, you can add those groups to your Facebook page, and that gives you access to go to each of those groups and see what's happening or post something. So we have a choir group, we have a creative group, we have a young adults group. So me, as Highland Baptist Church on Facebook, I can go in to each of those groups, see what's happening. One, it allows me to moderate those groups. I don't want to be in complete control. I want to train some leaders up to be able to take that over, because that's a lot of work, especially when you've got everything else that you're doing outside of that, such as Sunday mornings. It allows you to moderate those groups. It allows you to reach out to those groups if need be, to make a post or whatever. But just like I said, if that's right for your culture, totally do it. But if it's not, if you don't do Facebook or your people don't do Facebook, don't worry about it.
Just using the choir group on Facebook as an example, is that typical or recommended to be a closed group? Or is it automatically a closed group?
So
I don't know.
Ours is closed. So no, that's a great question, because there are the three different types of groups. There's the open group, so anybody can just join the group. There's the closed group where people have to request permission in. With that one, you can ask questions as they try to join the group, and if they answer your questions correctly, then so our young adults page, it's are you younger than 35 and out of college, and then do you have kids? And so if they answer yes to the first one and no to not having kids, then that for me, I just go on and be like, okay, yeah, approved. But I mean, you can phrase those questions however. You can make it a riddle, and if they answer the riddle correct, you can let them in your group. But that's very seclusive. So so the open group, the closed group, and then it's the secret group, which that makes it hidden. So people can't find it. You have to add them to it, or other members can add them to the group. They would still have to be approved by whoever's the admin or moderator, but nobody else can find it. It's unsearchable. You can't find it. So
So
Yeah,
maybe
that's good.
maybe a middle school choir group or something would be
Yeah.
a secret group?
Yeah, you could make it secret, or you could just make it closed, so you can show those groups on your on the organization Facebook page. And so you can, like, the most difficult thing is getting people to go from one thing to the next. So if they're on their timeline, you're like, hey, go to Highland Baptist Church. Okay, and then scroll down and go to groups, and then, okay, then hit join. That's a little bit more work, and people are lazy. I'm just gonna say it. So if you don't give them like a direct link, it's a little bit harder.
Any other time?
Well, just, again, I was gonna go back to, you mentioned middle school.
Yeah.
Be real careful,
Right.
Particularly in this world of safe sanctuary, postings and everything like that, how you interact in a social media group with children or middle school kids or even high school kids is easily misinterpreted, even in the best of situations. So make sure that their parents are,
Yeah.
It gets really crazy.
Yeah, I would definitely have more. You don't have to have more than one admin, but I would definitely have multiple moderators. So you have multiple adults in the group that can help moderate that. That, like, if somebody posts something and it has nothing related to the middle school choir, like if it's a bad lip reading video,
Mhm.
like, okay, this is funny, but is it productive for our community? If like that brings people together, then yeah. But if it just kind of, like, if it's a debate from an election, then maybe not. That might not be the best thing. So yeah, was there another question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask for some clarification. So it seems like as far as when you're selecting a platform for a specific, what's the word, intent, from what you're saying, it sounds like if you're going to be using something such as a Facebook group, that seems like the purpose is better for internalized church discussions, or like it's meant for people who are already members of the congregation. Whereas with Instagram, that seems like it would be more beneficial as far as marketing to people who might not be church members. Would that be a correct statement?
I would say yes, and I would say also, like with Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
more for people inside the organization.
Mm-hmm.
And that being said, like, well, it's different for me because I learn from those other churches.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I'm not just gonna go follow the Antioch Facebook page or Instagram,
Yeah.
because it's like I'm not a part of that community, so it's just kind of
Mm-hmm.
separate. Now other people might,
Yeah.
they might, but also the content that I'm putting out there is also very, very much related to Highland.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not just, like, I'm not putting up a bunch of devotionals. Those are great, those are good to follow, but that's not the only thing I'm showing. So I would say yes, like it's more for outside the church than Facebook is.
Yeah.
But I would say it's kind of a both and,
Okay.
but that's good. Back to you.
I know a lot of people are concerned about privacy on Facebook, and I wonder, how is, if you set up a closed group
Mm-hmm.
on Facebook, and there will be ads coming at that group?
I don't know how long
I'm
it will
wondering
take.
what
I think-
drives the ads that would show up in your group. Is that a function of what drives the ads of all the people that are in your group?
I think it'll be more related to, so there's two ways that it could do it.
That could
So-
turn out to be really interesting.
The one way it could be ads directly for that particular group. So if it's a fishing group, then it might just be like all this stuff from Bass Pro Shop. Thank you. Brain fart. So it could just be like ads from Bass Pro Shop or Cabela's or Gander Mountain, stuff like that. That's one way. The ads could be purposed towards the group, or they could be individualized. So like, if I get on, I'm gonna see different ads than you'll see. Like, it might be that way. So from my search history and fishing, and then the people listening in, they're gonna get the ads. Not many people got that. They'll get the ads from that. I'm not sure how they'll do that, but I think it would be more beneficial, and I think another reason why they would go to that is that it could be more specific towards that group.
It'd be nice if it could be limited to the purpose of the group.
Yep.
And,
I agree.
Can you say, I don't wanna see any cat videos?
I don't know, that'd be, I feel like the only way you could is like if you throw your computer out. They're everywhere. Yeah.
In my church, we have a Facebook group that is the entire church, basically.
Okay.
And a lot of people pay a lot of attention to that.
Yeah.
And that's, especially those within the group, obviously. But when I try to do a study within the church, like church choir, somebody mentioned, they don't pay a lot of attention to that. And I don't know if it's because we're getting too many groups going, or because maybe I treat them too much alike. Do you have any input on something like that?
Groups are difficult. Like there's a lot to learn and to manage in those. I do have a resource that Facebook actually made for churches, specifically for churches. A lady named Nona Jones, who's awesome. Like we say Facebook, okay, for churches, like what's that gonna be? But like she's a believer and she works for Facebook, and she's kind of created this aid, I guess. But it's really good. So it might be partly like what's happening in the group. If there's not a ton of stuff to get people to interact, if it's more this is one of the reasons why I say it's not a bulletin board, because people can get turned off of that. Like if I'm just looking at a calendar when I look at Facebook, people can get turned off from that. But yeah, the biggest thing is like getting people to interact. So if it's a choir group, like, hey, we're doing this song this Sunday, posting a YouTube video. Who's excited? Like that can be your leading question, whatever. Get people to interact, and then the biggest drive, the biggest motivation in this to get people to interact will be your interaction back with them. So in a group, it could be more interaction from your personal account than it would be from the organizational account. So getting people to interact on Facebook, for any social media platform for that matter, it's going to be very dependent on you to interact with them until they learn that hey, I guess it's safe to comment on this. Because most people, other than a few outliers who like to argue or whatever, most people will kind of keep to themselves and just like it, or move on.
My take on it a little bit is that sure, they're part of two groups, but I really just want to mess with one,
Right.
I really just want to interact with the one and kind of keep an eye on this other, but it tends to just die off, is
Yeah.
what it seems to do.
Yeah.
Well, it really depends on the purpose too, like on our choir group, we have like, there's something big coming up, our parts are posted there, so you're supposed to go there and pick up your rehearsal part and practice, or the RSVP to the big party that's coming up. It depends on what the purpose of that other group is.
Well, and what it sounds like you're doing is what he's saying to do, which is to interact a lot
Yeah.
with it yourself.
Events, or like if you post, like if you have an event or something coming up, put it on Facebook, because you're gonna get a lot. It's very shareable. Like sometimes if you put it on your website, hey, go to our website to learn more about this event, you'll have many people that will be like, I see the post, it says that, okay, I'm not gonna leave where I'm at, I'm just gonna keep scrolling. I don't wanna mess with what I'm doing. So yeah, posting events is great. That's another great way to interact,
That's
especially.
the RSVP and say what they're bringing, everything's right there.
Yeah, see, that's great. That's perfect for a group, and even if it's just from the page, those are great things to do.
And again, going back to knowing your group, my choir, my handbells, all of those, will respond to the person in Remind or something like that, but they will never respond on Facebook. Because they know that it's an absolute controlled, I mean, so you're talking about prayer requests, talking back and forth, conversations, they will respond there, but they will not respond on Facebook, no matter what you put there. And so you really have to know your people, and like I said, I will treat them the same way on even both places, but it's it is a real know your group.
Yeah, for sure. Back to the beginning, you want to show the presence of who your culture is as the church body. And if you're trying to be somebody you're not, it wouldn't work well for the things that, if you want to use it for that direction. I didn't get through all of these, but you can see I will highlight live video. Live video is great. It's not as great as what they said it was. They said that live video is like the biggest thing. It's the biggest thing for everybody. Everybody wants to watch live video. Nobody wants to watch live video. They want to be able to come back and watch it whenever they want. That's that control issue. I hate watching a live video because then it's like, oh dang, it says Joey is watching with me. That means he can see that. I'm not. So live video is great, but if you want to do a live video, sure, do a live video, but then make sure it saves on there so that people can watch it later. So what we do for our Sunday morning worship gatherings, we do Facebook Live. So we have 3 gatherings on Sundays. Our first 2 will take off when they're done, but then our third one will leave up for a week until the next Sunday at 8:39. I take it down so that they're seeing the new, like what's happening now, and they don't get lost in what just happened. I will say not proof. I know that's improper grammar, but always proof anything that you're going to say. It's very important. I even put it twice in case you didn't check it. Don't post without proofing. It's very important that you read, you go through, even ask somebody else to do it, and then go from right to left and check that way, proof that way, and see, okay, yep, those letters in the right order. I still can't read that, okay? So it's very important that you always proof and ask other people to proof. We've talked a lot about, I know this has been a lot about Facebook, but there are other platforms. We utilize those. We use Instagram as well. We don't use YouTube, but we're kind of moving in that direction. But Instagram as well, it's a little bit different animal than Facebook in that you're only posting videos or pictures. But the biggest thing when it comes to Instagram is the stories. What people are doing these days is they're not necessarily going through the post. They might do that and they might like it if they see a cool picture, but they might not read the post. The biggest thing is posting on Instagram stories, Insta stories, and showing like what's happening now. Or we do it for announcements. Like I'll make a graphic that says next Sunday is the Wellness Center Festival, and then I'll say go to the link in our bio for more information, or something like that. Or I'll put up a video and then I'll put a link to it from there. So groups, we talked about that. So it's a great way for people to connect, creates community, gets others involved, and then, like I said, that's kind of the direction that Facebook is headed. So Facebook is constantly changing, so they might not even do it. We'll find out. All right, so procedures. So we have procedures in place, policies and procedures, just like every church should have. You should have policies and procedures. You should put branding guidelines in it if it's not already in it. So it protects yourself as the minister, as a pastor, and it also protects the church. I did put capital C because it protects the church, the image of who the bride of Christ is. When you're protecting, like, okay, we're not going to say this or whatever. So branding guidelines that keep things consistent. It makes it identifiable for who you are. So, like Highland, we have certain colors that we use for our logo. So if anybody comes up and they create a green logo, we know instantly that's wrong because that doesn't look like Highland. So we want it in places where people can easily identify it. Like they see a poster and be like, oh, that's Highland, like immediately because I see the logo and it's what it always looks like. And then it answers unasked questions. The branding guidelines is really for the staff and the pastors. But if you have certain leaders, volunteer leaders or lay leaders in place, it's also good to feed them those too so that they stay within that. So it answers unasked questions by the staff, like, hey, can I make this logo green? Oh, wait, you already said no. So, and that creates less mistakes. I guess it makes for less mistakes. Like I said, it's protection, and then also it holds people accountable. I'll come back to that if you're still writing, but I'll go to this real quick. So these are our brand usage. This is our brand usage guide. Kind of quickly, it just talks about the logo. Those are the different logos that we use. Also, it shows like we don't want any distortion in our logos. So it gives who Highland is. All of these like show the culture of who Highland is. So if you can read really fast, you know all about it. And then what I want to get to. It also has different procedures for people if they need requests for different things. Production, design, video, baptism, marketing. Language is also, if you use, so we don't say services, we say gatherings. So that's in our brand usage guideline. And then how we type things is on there. Okay, so social media. So what I did a ton of research, and then I said, hey, intern, can you make this? And so I told her everything that I wanted. But so what it does is, one, I give some tips, and you can add more and whatever's more related to you. But you add tips for people because our kids minister doesn't necessarily know what to post. She's like, I know that I should. I know that parents like it, but what should I post? So like when it's more specific, I get with them and say, hey, these are some examples. But you want to add some tips, some things to be careful of. So be wise, be selective, ask if you have any questions, but also always tag us. So we use our social media guidelines also for our staff's personal accounts. So that's kind of a big debate. Should this only be for Highland specific accounts, or does this affect me too? So yes, it does. For us, it does affect. Like our kids minister can't like post a picture that she went out drinking all night. You know, that doesn't do well for Highland. It doesn't show who Highland is. So it just goes through some different things. I've got the link later, so if you need to go through that again, you can in a bigger link. So, all right. Resources. So a couple different resources. So that link, if you want to write that down, I've got quite a few things in there. I think like 5 things. So one, the brand usage that I just gave you that Highland uses. Another example from a corporate organization that their social media usage guidelines. Different ideas. So there's a guy I follow, Seth Muse. He created a whole document, and it's 88 different types of posts that you can put out. Really great resource. If I'm ever like, I don't know what to post, I can just go to that and be like, okay, that looks good, and I just I can follow that. What else is in there? Oh, the Facebook groups thing from Facebook. I went ahead and put that in there as well, so you have, so I didn't have to give you multiple links. So that's a PDF as well that you can find. So these three websites right here, Buffer, Later, Hootsuite. So I didn't talk about this, but one thing that we do is we schedule posts. So with groups, it's a little bit different, but for the main like Facebook page or Instagram page, I can schedule out a whole year if I wanted to. I don't want to, but I could. So what we use is buffer.com. So if you have one account, it's free. Maybe three different social media accounts. Don't quote me on that. But it allows you to post for free, to schedule posts for free. And then you can pay if you need more, if you need other people to be able to have their own login. So it's very beneficial for us because I can not just be like, oh, I forgot, I need to post something right now. I can, if I need people to be aware of the Wellness Center Festival that's coming up, and I need people to get excited about it, I can create a post and schedule it a week before. So if that event's not till October, I can go on Buffer and I can create this post and get some energy going, but schedule it for like 2 weeks before the event. So it gives people some time to see it, and then I can make another similar post like a week before and then a day before and say, hey, don't forget, like again. So it's always good to schedule it. It takes some hassle off of you. You can plan out what you want to say more, but also I would say leave room for, like 2 years ago when there was a shooting at a church in San Antonio, and so whenever that happened, it happened on a Saturday night. Sunday morning when I saw it, I saw the news about it, so I made a post real quick and say that we're praying for it. I got that from the pastor. He's like, hey, can you post this? And so, okay, hey, we're praying for this church. If you're not aware this happened, so on and so forth. Different things like that. So leave room for flexibility. In music ministry, you know what flexibility is. So buffer.com, that's a great website. They also have a lot of resources. They've got a podcast, highly recommended by me. They have a lot of great information. That's actually where I first heard about the Facebook change. They stay on the top trends. They go to the conferences for me, so I love it. Later.com, another good website to use. Don't use Later, but it is, they have, like if you're looking for analytics on your social media stuff, Later's a great website. Hootsuite, it allows for more flexible like messaging between people, and then you can see multiple accounts at once. Another great website. And then, of course, Seth Muse, like I said, he's got a great, his podcast is The Seminary of Hard Knocks. And so if you listen to this week's episode, he just tells a story, which is cool, but he interviews a lot of people. He's a communications pastor in Dallas at a pretty large church, and he gives a lot of great content, great ideas, or like trajectories that we should aim for. And then it's at the bottom because it's not the best advice, but Zach Elkins, that's me. That's my email address. If you ever have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer any of those. Or if you had ideas, I'll answer a question now.
Do you time schedule as well as date schedule?
Yes. So that's another great thing that I didn't really get into because it's different for different people. But I do specifically say what time I want a post to come out. So typically early morning, because I can schedule it, I'll do it in early morning or like lunchtime. Lunchtime is typically when people are like, okay, I got some time, I'll just get on real quick. or early in the morning. Because social media doesn't put it in chronological order, it puts it in like what you like the most, or like what you follow most closely, what you interact with the most. I do put it in the early morning, so when people who do follow us and who interact with us a lot, of course anybody who sees our stuff follows us, who interacts with us the most, I put that early in the morning, so like when they wake up. Like the devotionals that I do those on Wednesdays. I put those early in the morning, so those who interact with it right when they wake up, that's like the first thing that they see. Also, late at night is another good time to post things. So, lunchtime, early in the morning, or in the evening. Wednesdays are the best day to post. Weekends don't work as well. Saturdays, they don't work as well. Sundays are good too. Especially around noon. People are getting out of church and they're like, oh, I was just there. So. Any other questions? Yes.
You mentioned you do usually 5 a week that you plan out. Is that just from you guys as opposed to the other departments in the church, or is that all church-wide?
So it depends on what's happening that week. So,
and I guess what I'm after is what's too few, what's too many from the church.
So there's really there's not necessarily a limit to how many or to how few. Like if you did 1 a week, but you were very intentional with it, it would still work well. Like there's many people that I listen to podcasts like they're the best thing in the world. It's free education. So there's a guy who owns a company. He's got a personal Instagram page and his business Instagram page. With his business Instagram page, they're posting every day. And he gets a lot of traction, a lot of great interaction. People are constantly commenting, liking, whatever. But then with his personal one, he does 1 post a week. Same thing, gets a lot of interaction, a lot of liking and everything. So, all that to say, with ours, so my pastor likes me to do 3 like encouragement or inspirational, looking back at this past Sunday, how can I be encouraging from that or whatever, or just putting out a prayer or a devotional, something that along the lines of that. But then he wants me to do 2 that are talking about what's happening during the week. Sometimes we've got multiple things happening, but I don't make a post for the young adults on Facebook. If like they have an event coming up, so soon we have a fall water hangout out at a park here. I don't make a post on Facebook talking about that event that's specifically for young adults, because I want to meet my people where they are, and my young adults aren't necessarily on Facebook. They're on Instagram, so I'll go to Instagram. I don't post things like for my senior adults on Instagram, because they're not necessarily on Instagram, they're on Facebook. So, it's a great question though. Yeah, you want to find the people where they are.
How do you know that?
The interaction.
Either they respond or they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Ask.
Yeah.
Ask.
Well, it can take a few minutes.
Yeah. Typically I accept every friend request on Facebook, and like I see people and like I see them interact with the Highland page or with our pastor and stuff. So like I know that they're members of Highland, and I see like who they are, and they're typically more senior adults. And then the interaction that we get on our posts, like I can go and this is where analytics helps too. But like I can go and I can look at like who all has liked something, and just kind of gauge, okay, who is this reaching? Not that I'm trying to creep on people, but I can see like the different types of people that are interacting with that post.
Is your Facebook, your Highland Facebook, is it a site or a page?
It's a page.
So you
like
treat it like a page?
treat it like a page. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to direct everybody to our website.
Okay.
So I want to post everything there. Oh, sorry. I want to push people to the website. Is that what you're asking?
Well, sort of, you could say, we don't have our Facebook as a page, so you can't become a friend or anything like that. It's,
I see.
It's either corporate or personal.
Right.
Are you
No,
corporate
it's
or
not.
personal?
It's not personal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's an organizational page.
Okay, so when you're saying you accept their friend request, that's
My
on your
personal
personal
page.
site?
My
Okay,
personal.
gotcha.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no. And then I can see who likes the page,
Yeah.
the Highland
Or
page. But yeah,
follows.
my personal page. One, it's not a secret page or what. There's nothing hidden on it. So like anybody, they don't even have to add me as a friend to see all of my stuff personally. But yeah, then they can add me. So when people add me, yeah, that's from my personal page.
I know on most platforms now you can pay to boost your posts,
Yeah.
especially on Facebook, because I know one of my pages I have, they talk to me every day. They're like, do you want to pay to boost your posts? And I'm like,
Right, yeah,
just leave
yeah.
me alone. Do you ever use that feature? Because in a way it almost feels inappropriate in a church setting, but I don't know if that's just me.
We have used it. I will say boosting a post doesn't work as well.
Mm-hmm.
Creating an ad does. So, I mean, the biggest thing is the terminology.
Okay.
I think that might be where it might turn us off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I'm creating an ad, it's not necessarily an advertisement for people to buy something,
Mm-hmm.
but it is an advertisement for people to join something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so boosting the post, depending on what you want it to do. So I will say we don't boost any posts that's like a devotional or an encouragement or anything like that. We never boost those posts because we're not trying to get more likes. We're not trying to get more comments.
Mm-hmm.
We do want interaction. We want as much interaction as we can, but our biggest goal is to minister to people in a space that they are,
Mm-hmm.
that they're in. I probably should have started off with that. Like our biggest goal with social media is not to get likes and subscriptions and comments and interaction. It's to find the people where they are.
Mm-hmm.
To minister to them in a space that they already are, or that they're already in. Keep forgetting that last part.
I'll create an ad to encourage people, you said to join something. I'll create an ad to encourage people to come to something,
Yep.
maybe within a 50-mile radius
Yep.
of our church, and probably have no intention of joining our church.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's a good thing. It works.
Absolutely. Yeah. So with doing an ad or even boosting a post, you can, just like he said, within 50 miles, you can be specific with
Yeah.
what you want to do. Those are great things, especially depending on like what it is. So this past year we hosted 6 other churches with us. It's called The Gathering. And so we have 6 other churches from African American to Korean churches. Awesome night. But when I made that post, I didn't say just our neighborhood. I was a little bit more broader than that. But then we had a fair. It was like a neighborhood fair. So whenever I boosted that post, I didn't say all of Waco. I made it specific to people like within a mile radius of us.
Are there any legal questions with, say, my personal post? I put pictures of whatever on it, people. With the church, like children's choir, is there anything?
There are
Children will do,
obligations, yes.
You have to ask
Yeah.
them before you put them on
Yes,
Facebook.
so that yeah. So we put this in our policies. I didn't like go specifically over that, but that is very important because people have the right to privacy. So what our kids ministry does at the beginning of each school year is they send out a letter, and it's just like a media usage permission. And so they don't say, because we asked a lawyer about that, he said, don't put on there, if you sign this, it means you don't have to. Put on there, if you sign this, it means you're giving us permission to. Because a lot of times people won't sign things, or they'll just sign things. Wait, did I say it? I said it about. So people will just sign things when they see it, they won't necessarily read it. So put on there to say, if you sign this, it gives us permission, outlining all the ways that you'll use it. If you ask a lawyer, they're going to give you like 3 pages of things for the parents to read. So we broke it down to make it more specific, because more stuff, the more people just kind of blow it off. So it's best to say, if you sign this, it gives us permission to use.
So if one kid in the children's choir says no, you can't post a picture of your children's choir.
No, you take them out. before
You
pictures, right?
you just take them out of the picture, yeah.
We do that at school all the time too, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Check with your public school, they'll have a pretty good guideline most of the time.
But like newspapers don't have to have that, like if a newspaper comes and takes a picture of the football team or the choir that's singing at an auditorium, they don't have to have that.
Because I see people on their Facebook all the time.
Yeah, right.
The live video of children's choir singing Sunday.
Yeah,
Right.
Right. Be very
They're
careful.
individuals, so they don't have to have that.
When we have preschoolers sing on a Sunday morning, for the live stream, we put like a graphic image up. We just put an image up instead of showing the children's choir. But in-house, we'll put them on video. These are all great questions. I feel like I didn't prepare that. It's questions I didn't think of, so that's good. Couple minutes. Any other questions?
I got an off-the-wall one. Let's just say hypothetically,
Okay.
there was a bad review on your
Uh-huh.
on the church's homepage by a former, let's say, choir member who trashes the church. How do you get that down? 'Cause it's a review.
So reviews can be, one, if it's like really bad and you know that there can be no reconciliation, one, I would just block them from your page.
Right.
Start out with that.
But it doesn't remove it, right? It just,
No, it doesn't remove it. That's the thing that Facebook did, like the organization can't remove a review. You can comment on the post and say, hey, we're so sorry you experienced this. This is not who we are. This is who we are. We would love to reconcile. Or, like I know recently I saw a post that, so I'm part of a Facebook groups with a bunch of church communicators, or communications directors, rather. And they took a picture of somebody that left a review, and they said, I can't believe this church did this, the pastor cheated on his wife and all this stuff. Well, it was a different church across town that they were talking about with the same name. And so all they did was, hey, we're sorry, this isn't us, that it's this other church, would you please remove this review? So the user can remove it, but you can't, yeah. Reviews are kind of scary. I do believe, no, maybe not. No, I'm going to say that. It might be wrong. Well, that's our time. Yeah. I'll definitely stay here if you have any other questions that you didn't feel comfortable asking from the group.